All right, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, everybody. Good morning. Cheers to you. Cheers to you. Good morning. We're back. We're ready to go. Nice weekend. Very nice weekend. Good morning to everybody. Monday, May 19th, 8 a.m. on the dot, hanging out here with my people. Thank you very much for being a part of the show. Feel good. I feel refreshed. I feel refreshed. You know, sometimes you get a weekend and you come back on Monday and I'm like, what the hell happened to the weekend? You know, what the hell happened to the weekend? I feel more tired this weekend than I did on Friday. Not today. I feel good, feel ready to go, ready to get the show started, ready to have a phenomenal week. We'll roll up our sleeves. So I appreciate you guys hanging out. Enjoy your coffee. Enjoy whatever it is you got going on this morning. I got tea, already a cup of coffee, and already a lot of liquids this morning. Already a full lemon water and a cup of coffee. And now I'm working on the tea. I don't know what's going on here, but I'm filling in a little bit. I think the only thing left in the morning is OJ, some orange juice. I think I've got everything else under the books. All right, we got a lot of good topics to get into. I'm going to go through the topics in just a second. Quick quote for everybody, as we do every morning. Always encourage everybody, if you got a quote that you want to throw in here, that you want to lob in here, feel free to do so. Respect people who find time in their schedule to see you. Love people who never look at their schedule when you need them. I respect people who find time in their schedule to see you. Love people who never look at their schedule when you need them. Good quote right there. Phenomenal quote. We got a lot of good stuff to get into. Let me give everyone a quick rundown of the show. We'll read a couple of the comments. We'll get things started. Obviously, a lot going on around the NBA these last couple of days, so we'll catch up on everything. Thunder win Game 7. I thought last night was, or yesterday in the afternoon, I thought there was a lot of good things to get into. A lot of good things to get to, and a lot of things that I could tie back to the Lakers, to be honest with you. Thunder, impressive win, kind of looking at that organization and seeing the direction that they're going in. Alex Caruso, I had to go back today. I know. I shouldn't be doing this. I had to go back today. I'm looking back at old quotes from Alex Caruso where he wanted to stay as a Los Angeles Laker, and Lakers were like, no, thank you. Thank you for your business. By the way, this might be a good example of looking at Alex Caruso and seeing that the mistake that the Lakers made on him, can't make the same mistake with Austin Reeves. Now, I know that predicament is a little bit different. It's actually a lot different because I don't think the Lakers want to get rid of him at all. But Caruso's impact in the series, we'll look at that. Best organization in the NBA. Is it just the Oklahoma City Thunder? And let's just stop talking about all these other teams. If you look back at the Oklahoma City Thunder and see when they lost Kevin Durant, how they rebuilt this thing and how they got this empire in front of them. If they win one this year, we got a problem for the rest of the league. Sam Presti is the best president of basketball operations in the league, and I don't even think it's really close. I was looking to see, they did some rankings here of best front offices and trying to compare the front office of what the Oklahoma City Thunder are doing versus what the Lakers are doing, where Sam Presti is and where Rob Pelinka is. So we'll look a little bit into that as well. The Nuggets, it's interesting. So Denver's out. And I thought Nikola Jokic said something yesterday in the post-game show. Can I just tell you now, go ahead and add another team in the Western Conference that's going to be absolutely desperate in the offseason to get better, to improve. There's add another squad to the mix. Whatever's already going to be wild chaos and what's going to be really, really tough to compete against. Add another team into the mix, because that's what you're going to get with the Denver Nuggets this summer, including the Lakers and some of these other teams. 7 championships in 7 years. I'm curious to see what people think of the parity in the NBA. You a fan of parity? Do you hate the parity? I'll give you guys my opinion on it as well, but every single year now, you're starting to see in the NBA, it's almost becoming a little bit more like the NFL. I don't know if the NFL is a great example. I think NFL wants parity, but the Kansas City Chiefs, the New England Patriots, there's some teams that have just dominated. So we're looking at that. Knicks versus the Pacers, weekend recap, and then we'll call it a day. So thank you all for coming in, for hanging out, for being a part of the show. And I don't think I need to remind everybody to subscribe to the channel, but if you have not yet subscribed, please consider doing so. We'll greatly appreciate that. All right, let me look at a couple of the comments here before we get the show started. We'll go from there. We do got a quote from somebody. Sometimes you need your feelings hurt so you can wake up and focus on yourself. Okay. All right. I like that. There is a couple things here that are more on Alex Caruso. We're going to get into Caruso. Don't worry about that. If nothing changes, nothing changes. Simple, but gets the job done. I like that. Definitely gets the job done. All right. Let's see what we got here. Let's see what we got here. All right. We'll keep things going. So I appreciate you guys hanging out. And we'll keep kind of things rolling here on the show. Shout out on Friday. I was at a shout out again to my time over at Harris Resort. So that's cool to go there. It's cool to spend a night there. They hooked it up. I've been there before. You know, that's a property I used to do live reads for when I was at 710 ESPN. That's a property that's kind of crazy enough. I got a long history with Harris. I when I was in sales, I brought them aboard to be a part of the radio station. And then, you know, when I was more and more on air, they stuck with me. And we'll see. We'll see if we can create some opportunities with them down the road. But it was good to be there. So shout out to them for accommodating on Friday. And but today we're, you know, back here, back in the studio. It was nice being in the studio. Always nice doing things from home. Okay, let's get things started here. OKC wins Game 7 over Denver. OKC wins Game 7 over Denver. You know, I thought a couple things. To me, by the way, a lot of these subjects, if I could tie this back to the Lakers, I will, but I'm not going to force it. If there's just some angles that I don't have that are Laker-centric, then I'm going to roll, obviously, without that. I just want to try to put out the best content. But there are some Laker angles that we can take on what we saw yesterday and kind of looking at a couple of areas from the weekend games. This is what I thought coming into the game. Game 7, Denver, the veteran team, Oklahoma City kind of trying to figure things out on the fly, youngest team in the NBA. And, you know, obviously from an experience perspective, they're trying to put everything together. They're trying to learn as they go. If you told me Denver won Game 7 in OKC, I'd be like, wow, that's impressive. That's impressive. Nikola Jokic is clearly still the best player in the world. He'd be the best player in the world no matter what. But if you told me they went into Game 7 in Denver and, you know, you're thinking to yourself, well, Jamal Murray must have balled out. Aaron Gordon must have been great. Michael Porter Jr. must have hit some big shots. Maybe Russ or Christian Brown. Maybe they just got a full performance from everybody. Maybe the Oklahoma City Thunder just choked. And when that game started, the Thunder were down. I know at one point they were down, was it 12? It might have been 12 or 13 early on, but early in the first quarter, I was on the road, so I was listening. Part of it I was on the road. The other part of it I was watching the game. But when I was on the road, I'm listening, and NBA Sirius XM, and I'm like, what? They're already down 12 or 13. I'm like, the Thunder are already down 12. What the hell is going on here? OKC then really pretty much by the time that first quarter came to an end, they almost caught back up and caught the Denver Nuggets. And really, I think from that point on, when the first quarter ended, and then the first couple of minutes after the first quarter, the start of the second quarter, OKC went from down 12 or 13 points. And then you saw a groove there for the Thunder where they just started getting stops. And the next thing you look at the scoreboard and Thunder up by a couple of points. And you knew, okay, this is a dangerous territory for Denver. Because if you go up by that much and then just a couple minutes later, all of a sudden, it's the Oklahoma City Thunder have taken the lead. What's that momentum going to look like? What's the team with more energy? Who's the younger team? Who's the team that you feel like has the advantage? They're a more complete team. If the Thunder can get this thing up by 6, 7, 10 points, something along those lines, they may never turn back. And then by the time we got to halftime, the ball game was over. They outscored the Denver Nuggets 39-20 in the second quarter alone. They outscored them by 19. I think they were down by 5 by the end of the first quarter. So by that point, they were up 14 going into the break. And it's like, yeah, I don't think anything's going to turn around here. The Oklahoma City Thunder absolutely dominated. And the scary thing about the Thunder is if they got past the Denver Nuggets, it was like, all right, well, let's look at the rest of the NBA. How would they do against Boston? Boston's out. Okay, how would they do against Cleveland? Cleveland's out. Another team that won 60-plus games. And I'm not telling you that Minnesota's not talented. I'm not telling you that Indiana's not talented. I'm not telling you that the Knicks are not talented. What I'm telling you is, how do you not have the Oklahoma City Thunder as the clear favorite right now for everybody, for everything that's left? And I thought yesterday they got past maybe a mental hurdle, an experience hurdle where, you just can't teach experience. You either go through it or you don't. And the Oklahoma City Thunder had to go through a champion yesterday. They had to eventually win in 7 games. They had to go through Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray and Aaron Gordon and some of these other guys. And maybe the way the path has cleared up for them, they should be the heavy favorites now to win this entire thing. But the Thunder, this was not a squeaker. This was, we're going to dominate you. By the end of that first quarter, they completely dominated the Denver Nuggets. And I wasn't too shocked with the result, but it was going to take a perfect performance from Denver. That obviously didn't happen, and OKC moves on. I think the name that I'm sure a lot of Laker fans during these games, it's funny, when Laker games are going on, I might be more active on social where I'm just following what are Lakers opinions, fans, Twitter, all that stuff. During the NBA playoffs, I'm not really doing that as much. I just kind of trying to enjoy the game. I can only imagine how many people were looking at Alex Caruso yesterday. Listen, I know Caruso has been out of the Lakers, out of that organization for a while now. So we don't, nobody's trying to talk about that Lakers just got rid of Alex Caruso last year. But there are some, I think it's impossible to see Caruso's success and see his impact that he had on the Oklahoma City Thunder. I actually think Caruso was one of the most important players for the Oklahoma City Thunder this series. And I know people look at it and say, all right, what are you talking about? They got Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Hey, if Jalen Williams has a good game, they probably win that game. If he doesn't, they probably lose that game. Chad Holmgren is a key piece. Isaiah Hartenstein's a key piece. Go down the list of all the important players. Alex Caruso is as critical of a player for the Oklahoma City Thunder. Do you guys know this? I saw this yesterday and I was unaware of it. And I got to go back and read a couple of quotes. When Alex Caruso left the Los Angeles Lakers, he was basically pleading for the Lakers. Can you please sign me? Hey, the Chicago Bulls have an offer in front of me. Can you please make it competitive? I'll do that in a second. But Alex Caruso, I've never seen this before. It's actually the first time it's ever happened. Do you guys know what Alex Caruso's plus minus was yesterday? Do you know what his plus minus was? He played 26 minutes in the game. Listen, the guy, he only had 11 points, so it's not like if you look at his stat line, you're not going to look and say, well, this guy was really, really impactful in the game. He had 11 points. He had 3 steals. He was a plus 40 in the plus minus in just 26 minutes of play. Alex Caruso was a plus 40 in the plus minus in 26 minutes of play. It's the highest plus minus. If I read this correct this morning, it's the highest plus minus in the history of the playoffs for somebody coming off the bench. I think it was even tying the highest of just any plus minus, but I believe coming off the bench, it's the highest, a plus 40 in just 26 minutes. This dude was guarding Nikola Jokic. His defense was phenomenal. I mean, if you go look at Jokic's numbers yesterday, that's not Nikola Jokic. Jokic was 5 of 9 from the field. He only shot 9 shots. Jokic, 20 points, 9 rebounds, and 7 assists. For any other player, you're saying to yourself, that's a good performance. Jokic was not Nikola Jokic yesterday, and a lot of that had to do with Alex Caruso. So Caruso, who probably weighs 125, 150 pounds less than Nikola Jokic, is guarding Jokic, getting steals, forcing 5 turnovers. I think Nikola Jokic was a minus 23 in the plus minus. It's very, very tough to watch Alex Caruso and not think of the times of like, this dude came up through the Lakers. This dude wanted, desperate to be a Los Angeles Laker. And that's just one of those, I think you could look at moments where the Lakers have done a good job. You could look at moment where the Lakers have cropped their own players. Alex Caruso, Austin Reeves, Jordan Goodwin, I think is an interesting player that's coming up for the Lakers. You could look at certain signings that the Lakers have made. Man, but the Caruso piece, My God, that was an awful, awful mistake for the Lakers. And I still think you could look at it now and say, well, geez, can you use a Caruso on your team? All right, I'm going to, Laker fans are going to probably be upset about this, but it's okay. Sometimes we got to upset them. I'm going to read you guys a quote real quick. This is Alex Caruso after he ended up signing with the Chicago Bulls. Remember, Caruso ended up signing with the Chicago Bulls. The Thunder make a trade for him. They trade Josh Giddey in the offseason. By the way, he was a good player, but I think for a couple of different reasons, they thought, all right, let's move on from Josh Giddey and let's get a specific player that we think that we can use this year that can be kind of a difference maker, and that's obviously Alex Caruso. Here's what Caruso said a couple years ago. He said, like we just said, a guy who hasn't had a lot of decision-making power, fought for a job. Essentially, 30 teams told him they didn't think I was good enough to play in the NBA for 2 to 3 years. I need to get as much money. This is real life we're talking about. I need financial security for me and for my people. But this is the Laker thing that he said. He said that the Bulls had offered him, obviously put something on the table for him. So essentially we got that offer, went back to LA, asked if they could do the same. They said no. Asked for something else that was a little bit less. They said no. I said, okay, if that's what it comes to, I'm ready to go to Chicago and start the next chapter. So, obviously we know what happens from there. And Alex Caruso has done a phenomenal job in his career. And, it's tough sometimes. You watch some players that, there's some players that have left the Lakers and you're like, yeah, who cares? There's other players that have had a tremendous amount of success since they left the Lakers. You could look at Malik Beasley, all of a sudden was an unbelievable shooter. Go look at the success Julius Randle is having right now of the Minnesota Timberwolves. But it happens. It happens to every team. But I think the Caruso one maybe hits a little bit different because he wanted to be a Laker. He came up through the G League with the Lakers. He was a fan favorite. He won a championship in 2020. And not the best, not the best decision for the Lakers front office. But nonetheless, that front office, nonetheless, Alex Caruso was as good as you can possibly be in a Game 7 scenario. And we'll see how far the Oklahoma City Thunder go. But I don't think anybody here would be shocked or surprised that the Thunder win a championship, that they win the whole thing. I think that's kind of, where they're heading. And frankly, if they do win a championship this early on, we got problems. The rest of the NBA's got they got issues. Okay, let me take a look at some of the comments here, and then I want to talk about a couple things from a front office perspective, kind of looking at where the Lakers are, where the Thunder are from a front office perspective, all the teams that are going to be chasing them in the Western Conference, and we'll take it from there. So thank you for hanging out. Appreciate you guys being a part of the show. Kevin Brown, if by chance OKC does go after KD, I'd love to see the Lakers get involved as a third team to bring Caruso home. Can I tell you something? Let's. I don't see the Oklahoma City Thunder going after Kevin Durant, and I don't see them going after Kevin Durant for a couple of reasons. Number one, I don't think they need to. That's the main thing. I don't think they need to. Number two, I think they would if they go after a player. They're such a smart organization that if they decide they need to go after a player, they're going to think of a player short-term and long-term. Tell me a move the Oklahoma City Thunder have made. It seems like over the last 5-10 years that is not a long-term play. So I think smart organizations like the Oklahoma City Thunder, they don't go after Kevin Durant. They just don't. I think desperate organizations will go after KD. And I'm not even trying to knock KD here, but KD's not 30. And go look at Kevin Durant's last couple of stops. You tell me where he's played other than the Golden State Warriors, who was a legitimate system that whether you're there or you're not, things are, there's a system that's in play. Tell me where he's really had success these last few years. So I just think the Oklahoma City Thunder are too smart to go after KD. Now, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they do identify him, and maybe he does come to the Oklahoma City Thunder and he fits into their system. But I'd be surprised that they go after him. I really do. We'll see what eventually happens. But they also probably don't even need to. Kevin, thank you for the super, brother. I appreciate you. HH with the super. Thank you, HH. HH always looking out. Good looking out, brother. Thank you very much, man. I appreciate you very much with that 10 spot there. Okay, let's get a couple more comments here, and we keep going. All right, I haven't read this one. What is Caruso going to do? We need to start with Luka, not a guy that averages 7 points a game and comes off the bench, LOL. I don't think there's a team in the NBA that wouldn't want an Alex Caruso on their team that comes off the bench. I don't think there's a squad in the NBA. If you said, hey, you could have Alex Caruso, that doesn't want that dude on their team. So, Peter, you're not wrong in the, hey, you got to build around Luka Doncic. I don't think you're wrong there. But I think if you're underplaying how important Alex Caruso is to the Oklahoma City Thunder and how important he could be on any team, trust me when I tell you this, teams out there would grab Alex Caruso in a heartbeat if they could. But the Oklahoma City Thunder, smart as they were, kind of the game plan and what the decisions were, obviously smart right there. Okay, let me read a couple more of these here. This is more on the Alex Caruso piece. Good for Caruso. He earned it. Guy's a man. Absolutely the man. Let's see what we got here. Jarvis, Wolves in 5. Interesting. Yeah, I got to be honest with you. I if I'm making predictions here, and maybe we could do this a little bit later in the show, I'm going to need somebody to convince me that the Minnesota Timberwolves are better than the Oklahoma City Thunder, because I'm not there at all. I'm working on trying to get Alan Horton on, who does the Wolves radio broadcast. I'm working to try to get him on later in the week. He's got a pretty crazy schedule right now, so we'll see if we're able to do it or not. But I just look at the Minnesota Timberwolves and I look at their path. They got through the Lakers, who tested them 0. The Lakers, nothing. I mean, literally, to me, one of the more bigger surprises to start the playoffs. But Minnesota just handled them. And then how do we call the Golden State Warriors a test for them? That's not a test. Steph Curry was out. So they're clearly not going to have any chance. Now they're going up against a team that won 68 games during the regular season. I'm going to need somebody to go ahead and convince me that I'm going to need somebody to convince me that the Minnesota Timberwolves are real deal, have been tested, and are ready to take down the Oklahoma City Thunder, because I don't think I'm there. I definitely don't. All right, let me get some more in here. Caruso, the Jokic stopper. How about that? How about this dude? Just doing everything he possibly can to, obviously to make Jokic's life a little bit crazy. And I thought he did a good job doing it. Pelinka deserves another promotion. We're going to, let's get into it right now. Let's do this right now. By the way, this one, would you trade AR for Caruso? I don't think so. Yeah, I don't think that's the conversation of like Alex Caruso or Austin Reeves. I don't think that's the conversation. They're two completely different players. If you ask me today, what type of player is more needed on this Lakers team? Well, I think we've already talked about, if you're trying to put together a roster that makes sense, I don't think I want AR and Luka in my backcourt. I don't think I want that as my starting backcourt. If you're trying to put a squad together, I think the point with Alex Caruso is you had a guy that had a lot of value in the NBA, and clearly you didn't think he had that much value, and you let him go walk to the Chicago Bulls. That was clearly a mistake, period. Like I don't really understand if anybody's trying to say that the Lakers didn't make a mistake on Alex Caruso or on Caruso. I don't really understand what the justification is. There is no justification. Okay, I want to go back here for a quick second, because somebody had a comment on here, and I think this is an interesting one to look at. And I think this is going to be a perfect transition to my next topic. Lakers front office is terrible since 2013. So many players that we just let go and got nothing out of them. Many bad trade signings, many star free agents we didn't get. We are lucky to win one in 2020. Okay. So I was thinking about this. There was an article that came out. I'll keep this up for a second here. There was an article that came out. This was back in December of 2024. So before we turn the calendar year, before obviously the NBA trade deadline, before the Lakers were able to get their hands on Luka Doncic, before any of that, there was an article in The Athletic. What are the top 10 front offices in the NBA? Here's how 40 executives voted. So this is general managers, team presidents. These are front offices in the NBA that voted. Who are the top 10 front offices in the NBA? This is why I kind of want to do this, because when I'm watching the game yesterday, I'm usually typically watching from a Laker lens. I want to see how I could tie things back to the Lakers. And that's probably why, obviously we were having the conversation about Alex Caruso this morning. But I'm watching the Oklahoma City Thunder yesterday, and I'm watching the youngest team in the NBA. They're halfway through their goal. Shea had some quotes yesterday after the game, and Shea was like, I forgot, I'm thinking off the top of my head, but ESPN, the interview right after the game, and they're asking him, what does it mean to get to the Western Conference Finals? He's like, well, what it means is we're just one path closer to what our ultimate goal was, right? Like just kind of a very professional answer from Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. By the way, if you're looking for a face of the NBA, why do more people not talk about Shai? Like what more do you want from a player? I mean, honestly, like I know everybody's looking for the sexy highlights. Go watch Shai Gilgeous-Alexander play basketball. If you want to go find a face of the NBA, go watch that guy play the game and then go listen to him post-game interviews and go listen to him how he talks about the rest of his teammates. And we won this game because of this player, that player. I mean, I love that it's Shai versus Anthony Edwards. I love that you have two potential players that could be the face of the NBA. But damn how everyone is just selling Anthony Edwards and no one wants to talk about Shai. That part I don't understand. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is real deal, is a phenomenal player and can very well win an NBA championship in the next 30 days or so. We'll see what happens. By the way, maybe if Anthony Edwards gets past Shai, then maybe that conversation shifts. But, I mean, if we're taking some votes here, who we want to be the face of the NBA, take a look at Shai. You don't get any better than Shai. And Shai plays the game the right way. I mean, I'm a fan of Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. So let me go back to top front offices in the NBA. Watching the Thunder yesterday, a couple of things go through my mind. It's like, how do they have so many young players? Wow, the Hartenstein, Alex Caruso signings, obviously first the trade, then the signings. It's like those were exactly what they needed to add to whatever they were building. They didn't go out there and go try to trade for a KD. They didn't go out there after they lost in the playoffs and completely said, let's blow this thing up. There's a very, very calculated method to the Oklahoma City Thunder that I'm jealous of. I'm jealous of their front office. I am. That's the best front office in the NBA. I mentioned that this article that I was talking about, top 10 front offices in the NBA. Do you know who's number one, and it's not even close? The way they did this, there's like a point system that they did here in regards to if an executive gave you a first place vote, then that was worth 10 points. If an executive gave you 7 points, then if an executive gave you a second place vote, that was worth 7 points. The Oklahoma City Thunder, according to these 40 NBA executives, were so by far the best front office in the NBA. They circled around Boston and Miami. If you added, I told you there's a point system here. If you added Boston and Miami, who were 2 and 3 in the best front offices in the NBA, they barely eclipse what the Oklahoma City Thunder got. The point that I'm trying to make is the Oklahoma City Thunder are just ran completely different. They don't have the same resources as the Lakers. They don't have the same brand as the Lakers. They don't have the same attraction as the Lakers. They don't have the same marketing as the Lakers, market size. I mean, they are at a disadvantage like you couldn't imagine when it comes to front offices. They are running circles around the league. I mean, just completely running circles around the league. If I say Sam Presti, by the way, I'm not even trying to go after Rob Pelinka. I swear I'm not. But if I say Sam Presti and Rob Pelinka, that they can't be in the same conversation. They just can't. I mean, if you pay attention to what the Oklahoma City, and by the way, this is how the Thunder front office is compared to basically every other front office in the NBA, other than maybe Boston, or if you want to look at Miami, just because of what they've been able to do over the years. I think the Knicks, out of nowhere, have become a pretty decent front office of where they're sitting today. Maybe you want to look at Golden State, Cleveland, San Antonio. Maybe there's some other teams that you want to look out there. But the Thunder are the class of the NBA. They are the complete class of the NBA. This is what's crazy about this Thunder team today. To me, this is what's crazy. They got to the NBA Finals, if you guys remember, back in the 2011-2012 season. That's when they got to the NBA Finals. We know that franchise, basically, Kevin Durant decided to leave. Their chance of winning an NBA championship was done. By the way, they'll also be remembered for one of the dumbest trades in NBA history when they traded James Harden. Comes with the territory. But what they've done since they lost KD and competed for a little bit, traded for Paul George, then decided it's time to sell off, and then went through a complete, no. We are going in the complete different direction. We cannot win a championship the way we're sitting here today. We know what they got from the Clippers, including the MVP, that coming up to be the MVP, all the draft picks they got, plus Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. They got a ton for Russell Westbrook. Then they, went out and signed a coach that nobody even knew, that kind of comes in, a young coach that's going to figure out how to build with them. They got all these draft picks and assets and everything that they're doing. They've ran circles around the NBA. I don't know where Rob Pelinka, where he ranks in the NBA as far as front offices go. I don't know, maybe where it puts him now since the Luka trade. Clearly, that's going to – this was in 2024 that this came out, so it wasn't in 2025. So, that doesn't equate the Luka trade, and the Luka trade obviously changes everything for Rob Pelinka. But, damn, that front office does something. I said this before, I'll say it again. I'm jealous of their front office because they don't build just for today. They build sustainability. And I think if there's one thing for me that's frustrating with the Lakers, everything is so wild. There's just wild swings up and down. There's not like this, we got a path, we got a course, we know where we're going, we're following this course, and every single year it just feels like they're building towards something. For the Lakers, it's like throw as many things up at the wall as possible, and if something doesn't stick, tear down that wall and try a different wall. I mean, they're just, again, the sustainability thing is what I'm talking about. What would be really, really nice for the Lakers is that they eventually become a franchise where, year in and year out, they're competing, they're competitive, there isn't these wild roster changes. You kind of believe in what that roster is, and you believe that the front office has taken things in the right direction. And that's not always easy to say. And I'm actually one that's optimistic about what I think the Lakers' future is. But damn, is it tough to look at what the Thunder are doing, how they're doing it, watching Sam Presti, and then looking at the Lakers. It's like every single year I'm like, I don't know where this is going. I don't know where this is going. All right, let me look at some of the comments. We'll get people's thoughts on this as well as we put the comment in at the front office. Game changed when Russ entered the game, minus 34. Yeah, I don't think you can put this on Russ. I mean, if you were depending on Russell Westbrook to win you a game 7, I think you're already in trouble. So I don't think that was going to be the difference. Let's see what we got here. Let me get all the way to the bottom here. Get to the bottom of the comments so we can get some newer ones. Imagine if Bron and AG chose not to go to LA. LA's a lottery team. With Pelinka as the GM, the Lakers have no future. Yeah, I know what you're trying to say, and I get it. I think the Lakers would have eventually, got stars. But I do understand, since Dr. Jerry Buss passed away, the greatest owner in the history of sports, no one's ever going to be able to replicate that, period. No one's ever going to be able to replicate that. So, obviously, this front office is trying to figure out, they did get a championship in 2020. And if people don't want to give credit for that championship and that roster, I don't know what to tell you. Because you have to give credit for that championship. Like there's no circumstance and way that you don't give credit for it. It happened. It was a real championship. They did some phenomenal things in that championship run, whether you like it or not. But my problem with the Lakers, and it kind of goes back a little bit to the video I did on Thursday when we were talking about LeBron's time as a Laker. My issue with the Lakers is you go back, since before even Kobe retired, the swings for the Lakers, it's like this stock that you just have no confidence in. It's like you go home to your wife and you're like, babe, the stock killed it today. It was amazing. I mean, we were 60% up and she's all excited and everything else. And then you wake up in the morning and you go look at the stock and it's like, babe, that's it. The house is gone. She's like, what? It's the same stock. Yeah, I don't, this stock is all over the place. All right, let's see what we got here. Zach, currently working, eating tacos on break. Zach, make it happen, brother. Go enjoy those tacos, damn it. Give us a little bit more details. What are we looking at? What kind of tacos are you having? By the way, 8:36, this man's already doing tacos. Not a breakfast burrito. He's doing tacos. What kind of salsa are you using? I'm a Verde guy. I like the green salsa. All right, see what happens? See how quick I get thrown off? All right, let's see. Sam Presti roster is built for the new CBA. I was listening to some stuff yesterday. By the way, I think whatever CBA you put in front of Sam Presti, winners win. And I know they haven't won a championship. So, that's going to be until Sam Presti actually wins a championship. I get it if people want to say, hey, they're overhyped. He also made the trade for James Harden, traded James Harden away, which was an idiotic trade. But damn, they are I think they're built to win under any circumstance. I remember this, it's kind of funny with the CBA. Remember Michael Thompson. When I was doing the pregame show with Michael, I really, really thought the Thunder were wildly interesting. So whenever Lakers would play the Thunder, we tried to get a guest on that represented the Thunder. And I remember one time Michael was both him and I were having this conversation, and Michael was saying this a year and a half ago. He's like, you know what I don't understand with the NBA? Here's the Thunder. Building a team exactly how the NBA wants you to build it. Through the draft, develop your players, make trades here and there when you could be advantageous. Obviously, they were advantageous with Shea and the Clippers. That they were so strategic with how they did everything. And then eventually the NBA is going to penalize them because they can't afford all these players. And Michael's point was, if you draft guys through your system, they should not count against your cap the way other players do. And that you should be rewarded for keeping players through your system. And eventually, they're going to have to eventually make some trades. I think it's Dort, the one they're talking about. That's probably going to end up being the one, Lou Dort, that's going to end up being the one that gets traded in this offseason so they could continue to kind of figure some stuff out. All right, let's get some more Pelinka. Pelinka helped set up Lakers for 2020 championship, got Doncic without losing Reeves, but then the Westbrook trade. Fit matters. True. Let's see what else we got here. Look at some. Pelinka also chose Jalen Hood-Schifino over Jaime Jaquez and Cam Johnson in the draft. True. Let's see what we got here. Let's see. Sam Presti was called the MVP by LeBron. Damn. All right. Let's get another one here. Rob at the bottom. He got gifted Luka. However he got here. So you're going to have to give credit where credit's due. Denver only beats the Lakers. You might be right about that. It's easier to be the front office of OKC versus the Lakers. Lower expectations, no pressure. Patience can be practiced. If they don't win, nothing happens. Anthony, that's a very, very interesting point that you got there. Let me ask you this question. And I get exactly what you're talking about. You can work more under the radar and everything else. You're not wrong about that as well. But let me tell you something. If you had a front office here in LA that had a clear plan and vision, and let's say was building like the Oklahoma City Thunder, yes, would there be pressure? Would there be fans saying, what the hell are you guys doing? You can't win this many games. But if there's a plan, if there's a vision, if there's a yes, but trust me, in 2 years, this is what's going to happen. We're going to be staring at the rest of the NBA, and we're building something that's a sustained, it's sustainable. It's not something that's a 1 year, a 1 year Hail Mary or a 2 year Hail Mary. It's this thing is going to work, but you got to give it time. The more trust you have in your front office, I think the more that you're willing to say, all right, let this thing bake, let this thing marinate. But you're not wrong, because there obviously is always pressure on the Lakers, and that just comes with the territory. With the territory. Why doesn't Jeannie get Sam Presti? You know what's interesting? I'd be interested to talk to somebody from the Oklahoma City Thunder and ask why. I'm sure, many franchises have asked, hey, is Sam Presti available? And ask why Sam Presti stays in OKC. Maybe Sam Presti is happy where he is and refuses to go anywhere until he gets to his ultimate goal, which is winning an NBA championship. So maybe that's kind of where he is. Let's see what we got here. Did I ever get any more information on the tacos? Was there any more information? Zach, eating some chicken tacos with some red sauce. Okay, Zach, enjoy it, brother. Enjoy it. Enjoy the tacos. Very aggressive. You going in at 8:42 with some chicken tacos tells me one of two things. Number one, you start your day very, very early. Or number two, yeah, it's tacos. There shouldn't be a time and a place for tacos. Whatever your justification was this morning, cheers to you, brother. Cheers to you. This guy does. Some people they'll do coffee and they'll do, a couple eggs. Some people do coffee and oatmeal. Not Zach. Zach does coffee and chicken tacos. I haven't heard of that one before. I have not heard of that one before. Respect to Zach. Respect to Zach. Crunchy or soft tacos? Honestly, is this even a question? I feel like if you're having crunchy tacos, you're at Del Taco. And I feel like if you're having soft tacos, you're having real tacos. I think that one's kind of an easy one. Okay, let's see what we got here. Do I go in my next topic? Let me do this real quick here, because I think this is, I thought this was a little bit interesting yesterday. Yep, Zach started work at 5:45. He ain't messing around. So technically it's lunch for him. So that makes sense. Okay. I got to come back to this one. Smokey's got a good one here. I'll come back to that, talking about the Knicks. We'll do that. Okay. Somebody saying they eat cereal for dinner. That's an easy one. Breakfast you could eat at any time. I don't care. I'll have eggs at 11 o'clock at night. I'll have a bowl of cereal at 10:30. It doesn't matter. PM I'm talking about here. PM. Okay, let me get into a couple other things here real quick. Jokic, after Denver lost yesterday, Jokic had some interesting quotes. Instantly, I'm like, oh, geez, here we go. Now you got Jokic that's out of the playoffs. How many other teams now are going to be so desperate in the summer to try to get better? Let me read this quote here from Nikola Jokic. Okay, here's what Jokic said after the loss. He was asked the question, if the Nuggets can win a championship as constructed, hey, look, you took it to 7 games. You had a new coach come in. Other guys stepped up, this, that. Here's what he said. We didn't. So obviously we can't. If we could, we would win it. Again, he's asked if this roster as constructed can win an NBA championship. We didn't, so obviously we can't. If we could, we would win it. I don't believe in those if stuff. We had opportunities. We didn't win it, so I think we can't. So Nikola Jokic not dancing around the question, hey, do you still think you can win an NBA championship with this roster? No, I don't. And I think that's a message to their front office, to their coaching staff, to everybody. We do not have a good enough roster to win an NBA championship on this team as is. Okay, so let's add the Denver Nuggets, okay? Do you guys think the Houston Rockets, who lost in 7 games against the Golden State Warriors, do you think they're going to be aggressive in trying to figure out a way to go compete for an NBA championship this summer? I think Houston's going to be aggressive. Okay, let's kind of keep going down the list. Do you think the Denver Nuggets are going to take Nikola Jokic's quote, 3-time MVP, want to make sure that he's happy, still want to give him a chance to win another championship or 2 or whatever the case is? Do you think they're going to be aggressive this offseason? Maybe it's a trade of Michael Porter Jr. Maybe it's multiple trades. Do you think they're going to be aggressive in trying to figure out a way to make sure that Jokic is happy? Do you think the Warriors will try to make sure Steph Curry and Jimmy Butler and Draymond Green have a chance of winning a championship? The Clippers, I don't think, are just going to sit around. The Mavs, we already know there is, okay, hey, how do we get a guard until Kyrie comes back? And then that roster does what they do. The San Antonio Spurs want to make sure that Wembanyama's happy. Maybe they're going to go out there and get Giannis. The Pelicans, I think, are a team that were so brutally injured last year to start the season. What are they going to look like? There's so many teams right now that are on the list of we got to get better. They feel pressure from their superstars. They feel pressure from their market. Go ahead and add the Denver Nuggets to that mix, because there's another team that lost in 7, and I think a lot of fans are obviously going to be or a lot of the front office of the Denver Nuggets are going to be saying to themselves, we got to go get Nikola Jokic what he needs, because the last thing we want is for Nikola Jokic not to be happy. And if Nikola Jokic isn't happy, then that entire, obviously that entire Nuggets franchise, no one's going to feel comfortable there if that was the case. So how many teams we got now that are all going to be really, really hunting this summer? I mean, that's 7, 8 teams in the West that are all 6 or 7 teams in the Western Conference that are all saying to themselves, we got to find ways to improve. And if we got to go, swing for a home run or swing for the fences, then they're going to take their chances and do it. Okay, I'm going to take a look at some of the comments here in just a second. So I'm going to do that here in just a moment. Before I do, quick shout out here, Brad Wallace and the Wallace firm. Shout out to their partnership. I've told you guys this before, and I'll continue to emphasize it. If the Wallace firm, they're injury attorneys. And, my hope is that you never, ever, ever need an injury attorney. But things do happen in life. And if something happens to you or a family member, somebody is seriously injured or a wrongful death case, something happened at work, something happened on the road, whatever the case is, please follow this URL, wallacewins.com/Sliwa. wallacewins.com/Sliwa. Fill out this this form to get a free consultation and just see if Brad Wallace can help you. You see a lot of these injury attorneys. You see a lot of their billboards, all that stuff. You see them everywhere. Southern California, the whole thing. He's the best in the business. Maybe he doesn't have his name out there as often. Maybe he's not sticking his face on billboards and things along those lines. But trust me when I tell you, he's the best in the business. He can help anybody in the state of California. I know him personally. I'm happy to make a personal introduction. I've given examples of a case that he had for a client of his against Home Depot. They won that case. Nearly $3 million of that amount, which was significantly more than Home Depot. The verdict found on behalf of the Wallace firm, and Home Depot was responsible for nearly $3 million of the $4.6 million settle or verdict that was on behalf of his client. wallacewins.com/Sliwa, wallacewins.com/Sliwa. I can make a personal introduction as well. So shout out to Brad Wallace and the Wallace firm for being a partner. Okay, let's take a look at some more of these comments here. And we will keep rolling here on the show and take it from there. All right, let me see some of the comments here. Let's see what we got here. LeBron deserves the blame in front office decisions. Okay. Yeah, I think there is. I think there is a little bit of. You got to run your franchise, and if part of running your franchise is also allowing LeBron to have influence in it, probably comes with the business. It comes with the territory. And, that's on the Lakers to figure out, all right, how much credit do you want to give there, and how much credit do you want to give the other way? I think that kind of or criticism goes both ways. The Nuggets are a lot closer to a ring than most teams. Nuggets will blow up their team. He may or may not have much value, but Denver should trade Jamal Murray. He's too inconsistent when Joker needs him to be. Yeah, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you. I think Jamal Murray was a huge piece for their championship run. I think most people understand. Obviously, most people understand how important Jamal Murray was, at least against the Lakers. I mean, we all know that. But we'll see what happens. We'll see what eventually happens in the Nuggets case. But Denver was interesting. Denver had a championship pedigree, and I think the new CBA kicked them out of being able to hold on to guys like KCP, hold on to guys like Jeff Green, hold on to guys like Bruce Brown. I think they kind of did everything that they could. The Celtics are in a similar position. Celtics are going to have to figure out Drew Holiday, Porzingis, new ownership. The CBA is kind of weird. It's like you kind of give all your money to your main players, and then you can't really hold on to some of the role players. So you really got to be thinking ahead. And when your window closes, you better be ready to have a backup plan. Let me ask. I'm actually curious to get everybody's opinion on this. This is actually a good transition. One of my topics here: 7 championships in 7 years. 7 different champions in 7 years. What do you guys think of parity in the NBA? Trying to think off the top of my head. All right, if I could think of all the champions in the last 7 years. Let's see here. We got Warriors, Celtics, Toronto, Boston. Who am I missing here? Milwaukee. I'm missing one. I know I'm missing one, and then this year will be the 7th year of a new franchise that is winning an NBA championship. Let me kind of give everyone, my thoughts on parity. I genuinely listen. This is taking the Laker lens off. Okay, I think anytime you have a sport where you can walk into a season and you're not sure who's going to win. Oh, and Denver. That's right. My bad. I mentioned everybody but Denver. I think anytime you walk into a season and you have no idea who's going to win, or you're saying to yourself, hey, there's 5, 6, 7 teams that got a shot at this thing, I think that's good for the league. Now, I know people are going to say, well, yeah, but I don't know if that's good for ratings. Well, no, if it's not Denver, or if it's not Boston or New York or the Lakers or whatever the case is, then you know what? Ratings are going to struggle, this, that, whatever the case is. If you tell me that you have a sport where there's 5, 6, 7 different teams every single year that got a shot at winning, I think your sport is doing something right. I think if you're telling me that your sport, as best as they can run an equal playing field, nothing's ever going to be equal, period. Okay? The Lakers will always have advantages over some other teams. They just will. It's the market size, it's the advertising opportunities, it's the history. They're just going to have advantages, period. But that doesn't mean that they got the best front office. It doesn't mean that they know exactly what they're doing. Or maybe there's a little bit more pressure on the Lakers because they're always expected to win a championship, while other franchises, like somebody pointed out earlier, said they could take their chances or they could take their time. I think having 7 different champions in 7 years, I don't think is a bad thing for the league. I don't know how it's going to be ratings-wise. I will tell you this. If it's the Oklahoma City Thunder versus the Indiana Pacers in the NBA Finals, yeah, I know that's not going to do very well. I get it. I understand that. But, all right, so what do you do then? Do you not want the Indiana Pacers part of the NBA? Do you not want the Thunder part of the NBA? Like, these are franchises that are part of the league. Shouldn't they also have a shot to win an NBA championship? I thought Denver, if I go back to Denver had never won an NBA championship in the history that the Nuggets have been around. They got their first one. Denver doesn't deserve a championship? Of course they do. I'll go to the Milwaukee Bucks.
took them 50 years to win a championship. The Bucks don't deserve a championship. Of course they do. So I don't have, I think some people want to see, and I guarantee you there's going to be people out there, and I'm not telling you that they're wrong. I get it. You know, I've heard people say that maybe use March Madness as an example. You just want, if it was Lakers versus the Knicks, obviously that would do bananas when it comes to ratings and everything else. I get that. But I don't think it's a bad thing having a league where cities, fan bases actually think they got a shot. I don't think that's a bad thing. Now, it's up to your franchise and it's up to your front office to make sure that you're in the mix every single year. But we got a Final Four right now that has the Indiana Pacers, the Oklahoma City Thunder, the New York Knicks, and the Minnesota Timberwolves. And I got to be honest with everybody. I don't got an issue with it. I don't have a problem with it. I don't. I'm still going to watch these games. I'm still going to watch these players. I'm going to give these front offices credit. But maybe that's just because I'm a basketball head. I just love basketball. And by the way, you could very easily have an OKC versus the New York Knicks in the NBA Finals, which is what I think the finals are going to be. And put those two teams together. Okay, you're going to have the biggest franchise in the NBA and the small, or the biggest market in the NBA versus the smallest market in the NBA. I think it's actually, I think it's pretty cool. I kind of like where this goes from here. Small markets do not deserve to win. That makes zero sense at all. 0 cents. It makes absolutely no sense at all. By the way, you can have big markets like the New York Knicks that haven't won in 52 years. You can have that as well. I think that's very interesting as well. So there's your parity right there, and we go from there. All right, I'm going to read a couple comments here, and then I'm going to get into the weekend recap here real quick. Do those big markets, small market advantages still even exist? Anthony, I think they do, and I'll tell you why they exist. I just think that they're always going to exist because playing for the Laker franchise is just different than playing for the Kings franchise. It's just that the brands are completely different. I think the marketing opportunities, the advertising, there's certain things that are friend. But I also think that there are players now that know I can make $250 million or $220 million. I could play in any market. Doesn't matter. I don't have to play for the big market. Maybe for some players, it's like, I don't want the headache in LA or New York. Let me go play in a smaller market. I still got a chance to win the entire thing. And I don't have to, I don't have to deal with the headache that comes with some of these bigger markets. So maybe there's advantages, disadvantages. New champions every year makes playoffs fun to watch. I'm with you on that. I don't think the ratings are going to say that. But, but that's the ratings. If the Yankees and the Dodgers are in a World Series against each other, it's the top two markets. It's two of the most powerful brands that are out there. If it's the St. Louis Cardinals taking on the Baltimore Orioles, okay, just understand that that's going to come too. You're not always going to get, obviously these big markets that are against each other. But what I don't want to see, I don't want people to discourage that other markets have a shot at it. I mean, well, what do you have 30, 32 teams in the league for then? If you just want 5 or 6 teams to win it all, that doesn't make any sense to me. Ant is not him. Could I say this? Before this series starts between the Minnesota Timberwolves and the Oklahoma City Thunder, can you guys please, if we want to talk about faces of the NBA, they got to start talking about Shea. I get it. He's not in a big market. I get it. He's not the flashiest player in the NBA. That dude's a young stud that's probably going to be in the NBA Finals in the next couple of weeks. We'll see what eventually happens. But, damn, Ant gets so much love as, that's the next guy face of the NBA. Does nobody want to see Shea because Shea's not posterizing a guy? That's why. Shea plays the game the right way, too. I mean, I think you got to also have conversations about Shea in that category. I'd love to see Indiana versus OKC in the finals. All right, let's hit on a couple more things here real quick, and then we're going to call it a day. So real quick here, let's I'm gonna Knicks and the Pacers. I'm gonna tie a couple things in here real quick. So let me do the recap. Remember the Boston Celtics and the New York Knicks played that was on Friday. Yeah, that was on Friday. So Knicks dominated the Celtics 119-81. See what happens to Boston. I mean, honestly, their championship window could have just like that just closed. I mean, how quick could that have just closed? I thought Boston was going to win it all. I thought Boston was going to beat the Knicks in 6 is what I picked. And whether Tatum was healthy or not, I think if they had Tatum, they always would have had that chance of coming back. But with or without Tatum, they were down 3-1. So I don't want anybody to say that, the Knicks won because Tatum was out. No. Knicks won because Boston blew 2 20-point leads at home in the first 2 games. That's why Knicks won. Okay, so Knicks move on. Knicks and the Pacers. Interesting series. It's actually going to be a fun series. It takes me back. Now I'm thinking Reggie Miller and Mark Jackson, and I'm thinking Rick Smits, and I'm thinking Patrick Ewing and Larry Johnson and Charles Oakley and John Starks. I'm going back to the, I don't even know, is that the 90s or are we in the 2000s when that was going on? I'm thinking of those 2 franchises fighting it out the last, back in the day. So I'm looking forward to this series. I think it's going to be fun. I started one of these comments here. I'll tell you something that's kind of funny to me about the Knicks. Knicks might burn down Times Square if they win a chip, Slee. Smokey, I appreciate you sending this. You sent this earlier and I grabbed it. You know what I find kind of funny about, that comment there? When I see Knicks fans, when I see videos of Knicks fans basically taking down, all these areas, I'm taking down as in all these people are coming out and they're marching around the streets. Guys, I got to be honest with you. You know the saying of act like you've been there before? I think all the Knicks fans are like, we haven't been there before. Al, it's been 50 plus years. You know the last time they won a championship was when Phil Jackson was a player on the Knicks. That's how long it's been. But I'm sitting here and I'm like, look at this historic franchise of the Knicks. Why are they marching out on the streets to get to the Eastern Conference Finals? I'm like, this is pathetic. Why would they be doing that? And then I take a step back and I'm like, because they haven't done shit in so long that a lot of these Knicks fans are like, we don't care if we look like amateurs. They don't have any history to look back on. And a lot of these Knicks fans whether they grew up Knicks fans generation, we know how much Knicks fans love their basketball and how much they love their franchise. But when I see this stuff, I'm like, can you imagine the Yankees getting to winning the divisional round of the playoffs and all of a sudden everybody's marching around Yankee Stadium? As in, the Yankees have done this so often, everything is a World Series or a bust. That's not the case for the Knicks. So part of me is like, what the hell are Knicks fans doing? And then the other part of me is like, okay, I get it. I mean, it's been that long since they've been there. What am I supposed to do with their emotions? Let me read this one here. Knicks celebrated too hard. They're going down in the Eastern Conference Finals. Knicks premature celebration like they won the championship. Indy is scary good. I don't mind seeing Indy get to the finals. I really don't. And I don't have a rooting interest. Part of me, if Knicks won, I think I'd probably lean to, or I'm sorry, if Indiana won, I'd probably lean towards, okay, hey, you know what? Give the Pacers a shot here at NBA Finals. But I think Knicks, that 5 that they got, that roster is, I think Knicks are going to beat the Pacers. So let me just put it that way. I think Knicks are going to eventually beat the Pacers. We'll see what eventually happens, but I think the Knicks have a better 5. Now, that's on paper. I don't know what that's going to look like once, the Eastern Conference Finals start, but I'm interested. I think it's going to be fun. I think it's going to be fun to watch. So I'm really looking forward to it. Okay, a couple other things on the weekend recap, and then we're going to get the hell out of here. Couple things in, I just kind of point this out here. I don't know if you guys have looked at the NL West standings here these last couple of days, but my God, it's a tight race here. It's a tight race here. The Dodgers 29-18, the Padres 27-18, the Giants 28-19. The top 3 teams in the NL West are all separated by 1 game. All separated by 1 game. Not a good weekend for the Padres. They get swept by the Mariners and couldn't score a run if their life depended on it. I think they literally had no runs, 1 run, and 1 run. Pathetic baseball by the Padres. The Dodgers, to be honest with you, I'm not watching night in and night out. I'm sure there's obviously I know they played the Angels. I know they got swept. All right, well, I don't know what the hell happened to the Dodgers, but that's a shock that they got swept. And then San Francisco wins 3 in a row. So the Giants, who were 4 games behind the Dodgers for leading the NL West, pick up 3 games over the weekend on the Padres and the Dodgers by handling business against, who did they play? See who they played. Against the A's. So they did exactly what they were supposed to do. Just kind of a crazy weekend, to be honest with you, to have that much ground be gained is crazy to me over a 3-game span. And then somebody's putting in here as well, Arizona is good too. Yeah, it's funny with Arizona. I think they're 4 games back. I thought Arizona would be the second best team in the NL West. So they haven't really lived up to par either. So still early, obviously. Right now at this stage of the calendar, I don't know how much people are looking at every single game when it comes to baseball. Unless it's your team, in your squad, you're watching every game or you're listening to a lot of broadcasts or whatever the case is. But kind of wild to have 3 teams in the NL West, all of them separated by 1 game. And I know injuries got a lot to do with it. I know there's a lot of key players missing for a lot of key teams. So I know that has a lot to do with it. So we'll see what eventually happens there. All right. Are we done? Are we done on this Monday? Let's see what we got here. Not a shock. It's a long MLB season. You're right about that. Definitely right about that. Yeah, the freaking NL. Too many good teams in the NL. St. Louis is balling. Philly's going to be there when the dust settles. Atlanta kind of worked their season around. The Mets got a freaking squad. Obviously the NL West that I mentioned. It's like 7 teams in the NL. That's like 7, 8 teams in the NL. You're like, Jesus Lord, this team's going to be a headache. That team's going to be a headache. So we'll see what eventually happens. As you guys know, this every time we do the weekend recap and we do the weekend preview, it's presented by the Wallace firm. Go to wallacewins.com/Sliwa, wallacewins.com/Sliwa, and feel free to get a free consultation there. And if you need an injury attorney, you got one in Brad Wallace and the Wallace firm. All right, my people, I think that's all we got for today. I actually got a few more things I'm going to be doing right after the show today, so I'll be kind of running around. I'm back on tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. I want to give everybody a quick heads up. So I was talking with Sammy yesterday. We're going to try this, and we'll kind of roll with the punches on this. Sammy is going to continue to do. Remember how Sammy would do a preview video for every Laker game? He's going to do a preview video for every Western Conference and Eastern Conference game. So if you're, obviously big into the NBA and you want like a 15-minute preview between the Thunder and the Minnesota Timberwolves, and then after game 1, a little bit of a recap and getting ready for game 2, and the same thing with the Knicks and the Pacers, Sammy's going to put up a video before every single game through the playoffs here in the Western and Eastern Conference Finals, and we'll have a preview video going there. So he's going to continue to kind of put in a little bit of work here as we get to the Final 4 of the postseason. So thank you, everybody, for hanging out. What did I miss? I miss anything? I didn't miss any supers here. We had no cap space for one, if not multiple max contracts, 16, 18, 19. Bron was the only star we get. Those everybody wants to come to the Laker days are over. Those days that everybody wants to come to the Lakers are over. Yeah, I think the Caruso one that we were talking about a little bit earlier, I think that one has a little bit less to do with a cap. I think that had more to do with, do you want to invest in that player? And the Lakers, by saying no and letting him go to Chicago, the answer was no. They didn't want to invest in that player. And was it a mistake? Clearly it was a mistake. Like, I don't think we can really argue against that. It was a mistake. And that comes with the territory. Franchises make mistakes. That's one for the Lakers that you can clearly say was a mistake as well. All right, my people. Thank you very much for hanging out. Appreciate you guys hanging out on the show. Thank you for subscribing to the channel. Please consider being a member as well. I would greatly appreciate that. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day. I will see you guys tomorrow at 8 a.m.